Hey there guys, and welcome back. So here we are on the GitHub page as normal. Got my 2 hours in today. And we are, I'm pretty sure, like 99% of the way through sectors, at least as far as implementing how sectors work. So first thing you're going to notice is all these pluses up here. And I decided, because the demos file was getting so big, to break it off into its own folder with separate files for each of the demos, which makes sense organizationally. So we just took what demos used to be. So right here, we took this, all this, and broke it up into some simple code. So this is the code that put the buttons on the screen. This was utility code that all the functions would want to use. I did not put this in demos because demos is importing from the other things and I didn't want a circular import. So combat and colonies want toggle all buttons and clear demo buttons, or demo box rather. And if they were in demos, then demos would call combatdemos.js. Combatdemo.js would call demos.js, and that'd be kind of funny. So we avoided that by just splitting those off into utils. Otherwise, the code is mostly the same. Now, the one problem that obviously will come up here is that, as you can see, everything in the colony demo is quote-unquote new. So I'll have to piece through that as we go. Otherwise, I will now go ahead and swap you over to VS Studio Code, now that the file structure changes have been explained. And we can talk about what happened over here. So on my end, let me take a quick glance. Let's start with callbacks. That's fine. So yeah, I talked about doing the sector callbacks in callbacks.js. There we go. And that's what I went ahead for now with doing. The options was this, or just to code it all in colony.js down here in the sector loop, or up here, I guess. I'm at the bottom of the file right now. So up here in the sector loop, handling that in here or otherwise in a separate function. Didn't particularly like that idea, so it is over in callbacks, which is a good place for it to be. And as you can see, we have the residential callback here and the scout box bots callback here. Residential sector just basically tries to keep on adding meeples every so often. That's what the code amounts to. Again, you can read through it. It's obviously well documented and pretty straightforward. Just, you know, if we have space for more meeples, then try to make more meeples. This is a random chance. Actually, this right here is the random chance right here. So this is the random chance. And if you succeed on your random chance, you'll get at least one maximum of 4, or the number of meeples that we can actually accommodate. And then we add the new meeples and trigger an event to say that we've added the meeples. Down here on Scoutbot table, this is a bit more involved. So Scoutbots, basically for each level, this is how I've decided to run it. It's one of those things. This mechanic can change in the future, but this is how I'm running it right now. So for each level of Scoutbots you have, that unlocks a new tier. Each time the Scoutbox, actually, let me back up. You have a number of scout bots, effectively, squadrons, whatever, equal to the number of levels. So not only do you get access to more tiers, you also get more bots bringing back more crap. So each of those bots will bring back a random tier that is available to you. And within that random tier, they will bring back a random item from that tier. That's what this code amounts to. So let's say you're level 3 scout bots. Okay, you have 3 scout bots at that point. They can get up to level 3, tier 3, in the rewards, and they will get a random item from whatever tier they select. So you could end up with, you know, this food. So 3 of this food for 3 of your scout bots because they just randomly happen to roll that, or maybe 1 from the first tier, which kind of sucks, but the other 2 might give you tier 3, which would be kind of good. So there's a good amount of randomness in there, which is what I like. Also, we are using the game.random in here. Each of these callbacks, so one of those things, for all sectors, I got to kind of decide on what the callbacks will be. And kind of like how in combats we defined combat callback right here. And this is technically defined over in combat.js, I believe. At the top, yep, there we go. So kind of like how we define this combat callback, I should also, once I have a better sense of everything that the sectors will need, define a similar callback. So instead of this being combat callback right here, down here we will, maybe not down here, but I should decide what this is going to be, because all sectors should get the same exact information. Since we're doing this dynamically, that makes it easiest for us. The easier technically speaking, solution would just to pass a callback object, just a generic object that has features, and then the colony gets the features it needs out of that object. That would be the other way of doing this, but this is much more readable and understandable. Plus, so far I've been able to make use of all these things in both functions. So long as that continues to be the case, there's no reason to change it. Just going forward, all callbacks for sectors will get the sector that called it, the colony, and random. This random is the seed random off of our game, which means that we will be able to check ourselves, and by calling seed random, it will return the same results each and every time we click it or activate it, whichever. So that is that for callbacks. That's how we set that up. Let's see. I made a very slight change in the HTML file, and that very slight change. Where's the HTML file? Not up right now? Huh. I thought I had it up because we were looking at the demo last time. So that very slight change is I got rid of the demo box, and now demos.js adds the demo box itself, because there's no reason, if we disable this demos.js right here, if we just delete this out, there's no reason for there still to be a demo box. So that's the very minor change we made there. And let's see. Colonies.json I cleaned up a little bit. Again, I implemented colonies sectors kind of quick. So for example, this had previously said max instead of max level, which was an oopsie. Same thing down here. And then we also, oh, actually it looks like, did I change? Oh no, that says max level. Oh, I can't read GitHub. Okay, for some reason I thought GitHub was telling me that it was still at max. Alright, regardless, I added sector name to this one. This one didn't have a sector name before. And added flags for it. Or no, I added collection time. I added collection time down here for it. So those are, again, very minor changes. Just a little bit of housekeeping. And I think we're just on to colony.js. Actually, no, we have the colony demo and colony.js. So let's start with colony.js. So the big changes in here. First up at the top, these are used by that callback I was just showing you over here to reference it. So if we look at that really quick, the residential meeples, that was the 4 I was talking about. You can get up to 4 on each proc of the residential sector. So we're just keeping that here. And the chance of increasing, so remember I said it's a random chance that you'll actually get meeples. So we got that there. And then, oh, did I not actually, memo to self, actually add that if I did not? Oh no, colony base meeple. Did I not add base meeple? No, I did not add base meeple. So that was a bit of a derp. Let's just do that really quick. Export const base meeple equals 5 is what I was going to do. And this is the number of meeple that you can have without the residential sector. So this is just a base number. Colony can support without residential sectors. There we go. Whoopsies. So anyway, ignoring that silly little blunder, we exported a couple things. Here's the next big one. We added more events. So we had these already right up to here. So now that we're doing sectors obviously get added and have upgrades, and the unlocks added are from the sectors. So again, well, not just from sectors, from other things as well. These are our unlocked flags that allow us to get more stuff, which are right here. So we added in an event to handle that because as we implemented sectors, we started adding unlock flags, which would be the next function on the list down here. So when we do an unlock flag, we make sure to convert it to an actual symbol in case it's a string. That's what all this does, very simply. And then we push it onto our stack. Actually, sorry, highlighted too much. This much converts it to an actual symbol. That is, if it's already in, if it's an unlock we already have, then don't do anything. That, technically speaking, again, minor errors here and there that I knew I was going to have, but we need to make sure this is a symbol first. There we go. So once we've made sure that it's symbol, now if it's in our list, just return, don't do anything. Otherwise, add it to our list and trigger the callback function, or trigger the event rather. Good deal, easy peasy, easy to understand. Next up is add sector. That obviously would be the next thing that we have to do if we're adding sectors. Technically speaking, this got done first before unlocks, but it's the next thing on the file. So obviously takes a sector. This return null, return sector thing maybe is unnecessary. I just decided to do it anyway. But basically, if you're successful, obviously it returns the sector, which is the same exact thing you just passed in, and otherwise it returns null. The reason that it probably is not, so the reason I was thinking of that I should put it in there is because this trigger event right here, you may not be listening for in the specific function, but at the same time, if you're not listening for it to begin with, then it's probably not important to you. So we may not have any reason to return this sector, but I'm doing it just in case. I haven't come across a reason to just yet, but that is what it is. So in the adding sector, if we already have a sector of this type, then return it. Easy enough. Then we check the prerequisites because each sector has a prerequisite. If we meet those prerequisites, or if we don't meet the prerequisites, is a little easier to code right here, obviously. Then we return and we fail. Otherwise, we've met all prerequisites and it's a new one, so we add it. If its level is 1 or greater, which is the only way this should happen is if we're loading a save file, then we can go ahead and sector.set flags. We'll look at that in just a moment. And then after it's added and we've set the flags, then we go ahead and trigger the sector added event and return. So next up, we may as well go down here to set flags. F12, no definition found. Excellent. That's funny. Sector is right there. The type should recognize it. Let me just Control F. Yeah, okay, so it does see it. It's definitely the right name. And it doesn't see it rather, but it's definitely the right name since that highlighted it. So, anyway, set flags. Very simple. If we have flags, if we don't have flags, return. For each of our flags. If it's not a valid flag, so flags should be symbols, and over in IO, as you can see in load colony, let's see. Oh no, I did not actually do it in load colony. Okay, for some reason it was in my mind that the flags were converted, just like you see how we convert the sector type from a string to a colony. I had in my mind that we were doing that already, but evidently not. So actually, really quick, let me tag that. To do convert flags. There we go. Alright, so anyway, we get the flag. Oh no, that's right. Herp-de-derp-de-derp. Unlocks flag is already calling it. That's why that wasn't a problem. That's why that wasn't a problem. My bad, my bad. I'm kind of blitzing through today, if you could not notice. So, unlocks flag will return a symbol, derp. So we're not actually checking the flag itself. So if it's a valid symbol, if it returns a symbol, then we're good, and we call colony.unlock on the unlock symbol. There we go. Little derpy, but we made it through. Next up on the list is, I believe this is in sector updates. Yeah, this is in its sector updates. So let me just hop to the line number. That's the easiest way to do it. Here we go. So we added code. You will remember from last time, this was not here and we were just like this. So, or technically speaking, this was here and we were like this. This is what we had before. So we added code in here. So for each sector, we check that it's ready and that it is not frozen. So I'm doing the opposite here just so that I don't have to do nested loops, right, or nested if statements. So if it is either not ready or it is frozen, then we don't check it because we can't do anything with it. If it's residential, right now, as you can see from the note, residential is the only one that procs itself. It's the only ability that procs on timer completion. So we go ahead and call its callback with sector this and this.game.random. As we talked about before, I explained those over in the callbacks. And then once we're done procking its ability, which should hopefully make meeples unless you get unlucky, or if you're capped, if you're supply capped, then we can go ahead and clear the ready flag. Easy peasy. We've looked at timers before, so should understand that much. And then at this point, this is A, not the residential flag, and B, we know that it is not frozen. Where is that at? There we go. We know that it's not frozen and that it is ready. Those are the two conditions that must be met to hit this, or the three conditions that must be met to hit this else statement right here. And at this point, we freeze the timer and we are not preserving the time because you don't get bonus time for forgetting to gather your wood. So again, normally these are activated abilities. They're the little click me's on a dark room. For example, gather wood and collect traps, I think it might have been. So those don't start their new countdown timer until, or their cooldown, whatever you want to look at it, however you want to look at it, until after you click them. And we'll add code into the front end that when we click them, A, it gathers, and B, it clears the freeze. It unfreezes. So that is that. That is that in the sector loop, and that should take care of everything we actually need in the sector loop because, again, everything else will happen asynchronously. So, moving on. Okay, down in sectors, 618. I did a little reorganizing. This used to be a really flat list just like this, but I wanted to make sure everything was cool and copacetic. So I went through the prerequisites and just made sure they got converted correctly to unlocks. That's all this code is, very simply. The level, I made sure that it defaults to 0 if it's not provided. The level rate, I defaulted to 0.2. This could be a constant at the top of the file. That's definitely something to consider doing. I just don't think anything else needs access to it, which is why I just put it down here. However, that is not it's a magic number, you know, it's not technically a good programming style, I guess. I don't know. There was another word I wanted to use there, but I got stupid. So the last thing on the file is the set flags, which we've already looked at, although I take that back. Minor change. Set flags just was cut out of right here and pasted right here. That's all that happened there. So this obviously just got replaced with set flags. We already had this code written. If I do this, then this is basically what it looked like before. I just cut and paste. Easy peasy. So that is that. So now we are just on to demo.js over in the now demos folder. Colony demo rather. Again, the changes to demo.js are very straightforward and I explained them verbally, so I'm not going to bother being more explicit. So coming down here, and again, I'm gonna have to do this one from memory because it's a whole new file, and therefore GitHub's not gonna help me with it. First off, I added these little tags in here just to keep track because, as you can see, there's a lot of code in this file, and then additional setup. So I added those in. That's a simple one to point out. The meeples, I don't believe I did anything with meeples. Yeah, I did not do anything with meeples. I did let's see. I did not. Oh, yes, I did do this. Resource strings. I know I did something. I'm preserving resource strings because we're going to want to be displaying those more often, especially now that we added sectors. So now I'm just keeping a reference to all the resource strings so that we can display names properly. We didn't really need names with meeples, although that was something I wanted to add. So for meeples, and this is something I wanted to add that I never actually got around to it, on the job dropdown, which is right here. So on the job dropdown, I actually wanted to. Okay, so I would have to figure out how I'm going to do this because we already have the job strings.flavor right here. Okay, taken as the title, but I wanted to put the little hover window like they have in a darkroom, to tell you what that job is producing and what it requires. So since I wanted to add that, that helps that we have the resource string still available, so I don't have to look those up again. And likewise down here in sector. So sector is all new. A sector is a header with sectors, a table, just like everything else. Keep everything straightforward and unified in theme. And the first row is the upgrade/unlock the sector. I'll have that change as we're going forward. At the moment, it is just one thing. I have not gotten that far in the implementation. The next column is level, and then the final column is progress. And that progress, again, just like Meeples, will just be timers for right now, just the literal numbers, not progress bars. However, and we'll skip over some of this really quick just so that we can keep track of what we're talking about. I am going to have two divs in here, as you can see right here. So this is the data timer div, and that will be displaying the timer up until the point, stop it, up until the point that it maxes out. So once it freezes, then this becomes display none, and this one over here, this collection div, which is displayed none, will get displayed not default because that won't work, but that will get displayed, and then it will have a button in it that you can click to collect from the sector. And again, that works for everything except for the residential sector. So again, that's a little bit of code I'll have to write there, but we're getting on to it. As you can see, there's my to-do to remember to come back to that spot. Otherwise, rolling back up, now that we have that, first off, we're unlocking everything in the colony. We're setting all the flags because it's a demo, so it doesn't necessarily matter. They can have access to everything. We're adding level 0 sectors to the colony. That way it has all the sectors already in its list. And then we can go ahead and populate the list right here with all those sectors. They will all be level 0, so they won't be unlocked and they won't be doing anything, but you can hit the unlock button once you have enough resources to unlock them and level them up. So if we look here at, let's see, so that was that. All right, this is a bonus, convenience function, because to level up, I wanted to display what the resources you need to level up are. And this is the same exact idea as the job requirements, as the job costs and resources collected and resources gained. And what the heck, how the heck do I refer to that as? I've already forgotten. Wow. Okay. Resources generated. There we go. Resources generated, resources required. I want to add that to the jobs thing, and just like I have that on the jobs thing, close that. And where's my colony demo? There we go. Just like I have that on that, the colony, the sector, when you hover over it, when you hover over the upgrade button, it will tell you what is required in order to upgrade that. And that's all this function does. That just puts that string together. So we call that here after getting the strings because we need the strings. And then this is just very straightforward. We fill in each of those columns that we have. So the So this power sector will be the first one when you need to unlock it. Power being my word for unlock sector. And then after we successfully power the sector on, then I will change this to, let's say, upgrade sector name. And then obviously sector level is right here, easy enough. And then finally the timer span, which will be updated. And right now you can see it says 0 out of X, out of sector.collection rate. Obviously that will be changed. This timer or the span is marked obviously so that we can change it as the timer increases. And then again, this button right here will get a callback attached to it. And I am 99.999. Yeah, so that is everything we did. That's everything we got done in our 2 hours today that we spent on it. Probably we'll see what happens. Let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead, run down to the store, pick up some food, and then yeah. So again, I normally try not to include random outside events in this, so that was my mistake there. I was just trying to decide whether or not I was going to work another hour on this tonight, or if I was going to stream something else. There's something else I wanted to stream, but again, that information is not pertinent to these blogs. So I'm going to stop myself there. I guess you will get your next update blog, not blog, whenever that actually comes out, because I'm not going to talk about everything else on my plate right now. So look forward to it. The only thing we really have to do is fill out the attach the callbacks on here, which level up the sectors and collect from the sectors and toggle the collection timer back and forth. So those are the only things we got to do, and then this demo will be complete. And then we got to add an item shop. As I was thinking back through it this afternoon, the next thing we actually have to do, we need to add somewhere to buy, to exchange, to barter our resources for upgrades to the transport, which is something that we did not really flesh out yet because I was waiting to get the map done before we did that. But we'll go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and get the transport upgrades in place at the shop and set up the other things that you can buy at the shop, or at least the inner functions, how it functions, the inner mechanics of how the shop functions. And that should be extremely straightforward, because all it is just plus and minus resources and then plus and minus flags for the transport upgrades. I was thinking we were just going to do flags for the transport upgrades, but nah, we may actually do transport upgrades as items. So anyway, it's one of those things. All it is just shuffling around resources and adding them to places. So that should be a fairly straightforward and easy thing to implement. The only implementation trick to it, I guess, is the UI. And I don't even know I'm going to do a demo for that, just because there's not really a reason to, as far as I can think of. Like, A, in between it being a very simple system, and B, it's kind of a non-demo thing, right? I don't know. It doesn't really seem like something I should add to any particular demo. Like, where would you add it? Would you add it here to the sectors, to the colony demo? Or would you add it to the map demo, since the map you can gather resources and then exchange resources for the stuff? It honestly probably makes more sense to do it in the colony demo, but that's besides the point. I don't know that it's even worth doing in the beginning with. So that is where we're at and where we're going. As always, if you have been watching, thank you, and I hope you have a great and wonderful day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at in the world, and I will catch you next time.